Hey guys, welcome to the Paint with Lovejoy website. This is the place for first-time and beginners to get comfortable with the painting process. If you have never painted, I am definitely the teacher for you. I will give you permission to play, to create with your hands, and I do consider this adult kindergarten, where you get to make memories with yourself or with loved ones. And you will notice that creative time is something that you will reference for the rest of your life. I do encourage you to send me photos of your paintings. And when you're done with my YouTube videos, please check out my Paint Your Pet course for even more in-depth and kind of my signature class. It's a lot of fun. Before we get started, I want to say thank you for being you. And I also want to give you permission to play today. I'm going to encourage that you take a lot of progress photos, and I do recommend that you turn off your distractions. Put your phone on mute. Please know that mistakes will happen. We call them happy accidents. And I'm going to encourage you to breathe throughout the painting process. Here are your recommended supplies and the colors for this particular video. This video also has a traceable, a line drawing at the beginning, and you can either purchase the traceable and transfer, or you can pause the video and draw it freehand, whichever you feel comfortable doing. Again, progress photos are important. And I'm going to encourage that you pause and play the video as much as you need and rewatch anything that you want. All right, guys, so take your first progress photo after you've transferred your traceable, and we're going to start in the sky. We're going to start with white with a little bit of blue, starting off with a light blue color. Now, your colors do not have to match exactly what mine look like on the video. You can use it as a guideline, just a little perimeter, or kind of getting in that area of that color, or you have full permission to switch out colors entirely. Now, if you are one of my first-time and beginner painters, I do recommend that you apply your paint a little bit thicker. That will cover the texture of the canvas and make your blending a little bit easier. And if you happen to overlap some of the traceable lines as we're applying the paint today, totally okay. Now, once you've applied your light blue, we're going to go a little bit darker. So add a little bit more blue pigment to your light blue mixture. And you want to go about 2 shades darker than you were just using. And again, if it's a little different than the color that's on the screen, completely okay. Now here you can see where I'm overlapping the light blue and the darker blue and kind of creating a new transition color as I use light pressure with my brush and move my brush over where the 2 colors meet. This is called wet on wet blending, and this is something that will get easier and more comfortable the more that you paint. So now we're still back at that medium blue and just kind of filling in the space around this rock formation. And if you're mixing your color a couple of times, don't stress about getting the exact same shade every single time. It is okay to have variety in your colors, and that actually adds more intrigue and more depth to your painting. So again, don't stress about getting your color mixing exactly right. That is something that does get more comfortable with practice. And that's really all you're doing is you're just getting comfortable with your tools, enjoying the process, creating with your hands, and just, learning more about color and more about the creative process. So here for that top part of the canvas, for the sky, again, going 2 shades darker blue than you were just using, or 2 shades darker for whatever color you were using. Some of you may be using the direct blue like I am right now. If some of you use the direct blue in your prior step, you can do a blue and purple mixture, a blue and red mixture to kind of make that purple a little bit darker or that blue a little bit darker. Again, just play with it. And here, same thing where our darker and lighter shades are meeting, using that light pressure and kind of back and forth brush strokes to kind of create that transition shade. And again, the smoothing texture does not have to be perfect. It's okay if you can see your brush strokes. It's okay if it's not a smooth transition. This is just something that you'll get more comfortable with more practice. Now, before we move on to the rocks, if there's anything you want to do in your background, in your sky area, do that now while your paint is still wet before we move on to the next step. And take your time, pause the video, paint what you need, and then pick up for the next step whenever you're ready. Do take that progress photo. And then again, like I said, when you're ready for the rock formations, we'll be moving into that. So we'll be still using that medium flat brush. And we're going to start with a mixture of white with a little bit of orange. And as we fill in this rock formation, we're really going with an impressionistic style. So we're going to be slapping kind of chunks of color on there in kind of a messy way. So don't feel like this has to be perfect. Pause the video as much as you need to. And what you're going to do is observe the place and the shape, the blobby shapes that I make on here, and mimic that to the best of your ability at home. Again, does not have to be perfect. And as you do this, you are strengthening the power of observation. And this is actually a good life skill. The more observant you become in the painting process, the more observant you actually become in life in general. And that's always a good skill to have, being more observant. So again, just have fun. You're going to be picking up stuff here. Pause that video as much as you need. Observe the shape, and then just mimic that to the best of your ability. With that being said, if you're inclined to put one of these colors somewhere I do not, I also encourage you to trust your instincts, so go ahead and do that. If you end up placing something that you don't like and you need to put something else there instead, we just let it dry and you paint on top of it again. So lots of wiggle room with our acrylic painting. Here you can see I've gone a little bit darker, added a little bit more orange to my mixture, and again, going 2 shades darker than what I was just using. If your colors are a little bit different than mine on the screen, doesn't matter, just go 2 shades darker than what you were using. And as I'm using this darker color and coming up next to the lighter areas, I am overlapping it a little bit. And like I said earlier, it's kind of fun if you actually paint messy and a little bit sloppy. And I think I do have that come up as one of the tips a little bit later on. But again, this is your creative time to just relax, play, be a kid, hopefully not think about other things that are going on in your life, and you're just focused on your painting. Now, do remember to breathe. I do pop up those tips there every now and then. Sometimes you get so into what you're doing, you forget to breathe and you end up holding your breath. And sometimes when I say it in these video tutorials, it's also a reminder for me to breathe as well. All right, so we're going to go yet again a little bit darker. So now we're going to be using orange and red. And I recommend starting with the orange and adding a small amount of red. A little bit of red goes a long way. And again, we're going 2 shades darker than the shade we were just applying. Again, pause that video. Notice the kind of blobby shape, generally where it's placed, and you're mimicking that on your canvas. If for any reason you're not liking that middle flat brush, please feel free to switch brushes. You can switch down to the pointy brush. If you're on a bigger canvas and you want to go back up to a bigger brush, please feel free to adjust your tools to what you need and where your comfort level is. Nice. Another tip, if you need to kind of see more detail or zoom in, pause the video, take a screenshot, and then you can use that screenshot and kind of zoom in and strengthen your power of observation, look at stuff a little bit more. So again, half of creativity is just learning to figure out how you work and doing what you need to accomplish these goals. And today's goal is this pool painting in Sedona of Coffeepot Rock Formation. It is on the right-hand side of the Thunder Mountain Rock Formation. And if you do ever get a chance to come to Sedona, it is definitely an iconic one, and you'll see it from a lot of places in West Sedona. So again, here we're still using that red and orange mixture, kind of filling in more spaces. We'll be going yet a darker color in the next step. And at any point, please feel free to pause that video, take that progress photo. Tomorrow, when you flip through your phone and look at all those photos, It's pretty amazing what you will see and the transformation of the blank canvas into your final piece. And you get to flip through your phone, those photos, in about 30 seconds compared to the couple of hours it may be taking you to paint that today. And when we document our creative process, it gives us even more empowerment to keep being creative. So, all right, now we're moving into our darker color. We're going to use that direct red, where before we were using a red and orange mixture. If this red isn't a huge jump to being darker compared to what you were just using, you can actually start doing a red and purple mixture, and that's going to be my next color. All right, so this is kind of a very abstract looking painting right now. Here we go, moving into the red and the purple, going a little bit darker. And same like before, start with the red, add a little bit of purple, and again, just going 2 shades darker than what you were using. And when we add this purple to the shadow, that kind of pushes it back even further because the purple's kind of cool to where our reds and oranges that we were using are warm. Those are our warm colors, and those are kind of pushing towards us. So this is part of the magical illusion that you're creating as being a painter. You're creating this illusion of a 3D image on a flat 2D surface. And you're doing a great job. I'm very grateful that you're hanging out with me and getting creative and just, um, creating something with your hands today. All right, so again, still using that purple and red mixture. Remember to breathe, relax, you're doing great. We're filling in spaces, totally okay to overlap some of the other colors, totally okay to put these colors in a few places that I may not put them. Um, you're a fun, messy, sloppy, impressionistic painter today. Embrace it. All right, doing great. So now we're going to move back to orange, fill in a few spaces that I missed. And that's part of the painting process as well. Sometimes you do have to go back to some of your prior colors. So I'm using that direct orange, filling in some of the canvas space where the rock formations are. So if you have a few more white areas to fill in, not the bottom, we'll be putting the trees there momentarily, but anywhere that rock formation is, if you can see the white of the canvas, grab a color and at least put something there so that way it's covering it up. Then we're going to be moving into some of our foliage at the bottom of the canvas. So we're going to be taking some of that purple and green. And the purple makes the green a little bit darker. I'm still using that medium flat brush, and we're still kind of just doing these blobs of shapes. Uh, so just kind of, again, just like the rock formation, making these blobs, weird kind of shapes, mimic it to the best of your ability. But again, freedom to place these colors or do your foliage a little bit differently than I may be doing on the video. And sometimes with this, I'm literally just kind of tapping and slapping the brush on the canvas. That's also a really therapeutic thing to do sometimes. So literally just slap your brush on the canvas, take out any stress or frustration from life in general. And we may not solve problems, but we at least you feel a little bit better after the painting process. All right, again, pause that video as needed, take your progress photo, and if needed, you can switch to the pointy brush. Excuse me. You can switch between the pointy brush or the flat brush, whatever you are feeling comfortable with. And here you can see that we're actually placing some of this purple-green foliage color on top of the rocks, and that would be imagining that there is foliage hanging out on these rock formations. And again, if you do get to visit Sedona and you stand at the base of some of these mountains, you feel pretty tiny. It is a very humbling experience. All right, so now we're moving on to the green, filling in more of that foliage space. Again, just kind of slapping that paint on there, making little X marks with our brush, filling in the space, overlapping some of the prior color. Again, just having fun. You're doing a great job. One of the things that I do recommend is as you take your progress photo, maybe get out of your chair and look at your painting from a distance of 5 to 10 feet away and just notice what it looks like from that distance. All right, here you can see we're moving into green and white. So getting our lighter highlight color in here, overlapping some of the green areas, still using the same brush stroke, but basically just kind of breaking up all the color in the foliage area, giving it some more depth. Another good spot to take your progress photo. And I believe we're going to be making a light blue next. Nope, orange and green. I got a few steps ahead. So we're going to mix the orange and green. By mixing the orange with the green, it kind of keeps it earthy. And then filling in the spot, it does look pretty similar to the other color. I apologize. But just getting some more of the darker green that may overlap the rock area and reflect some of the colors. That's why we're doing the orange and green here. And same thing, just kind of tapping the brush on there, getting some of that foliage on this rock formation. And up close, you may look at it and be like, oh, this just looks so weird, and a bunch of different blobs. So again, get out of that chair, look at it from a distance of 5 or 10 feet away and go, oh, okay, that's starting to look like the rock formation. All right, here we go. Now we're going back to the white and the blue. And I made a change halfway through and decided to put sky here instead of putting the foliage in that area. So your call. You can either use your shades of green and put foliage there and a big tree, or you can move back to your sky colors, your light blue, and just kind of fill that in. So your call what you want to do for the painting. All right. So we're doing great. After this step, I'm going to have you take a little bit of a break, let your paint dry. And I've got a little bit of an ad here for my Paint Your Pet class, and then you can pick up the painting after this. So my most popular class is Paint Your Pet, and I've been teaching this for about 15 years. I do have in-person and online classes. And if you have never painted, this is a perfect course for you. Perfect for first-time and beginner painters. And it's so much fun when you actually paint what you love. And you will impress yourself and your pets. So check out the Paint Your Pet course and then check out that code for a little bit of a discount for either the in-person classes or the online workshop. Trying to have something for everybody. And if you don't have a pet, you can paint your favorite animal. A human is the only animal you cannot paint in my class. So like I said, you will impress yourself and your pet. My steps are very easy and logical to follow. And oh, here you'll see a little demo. And then after this demo is my favorite part of seeing the pets and their paintings. Yeah, if you had told me I was going to be teaching this for the amount of years that I've been teaching it, I would have thought you were crazy, but I love it. Look at those happy pets. They're so proud of their parents for painting their portraits. Love it. So again, when you are finished with my YouTube channel, check out the Paint Your Pet course and keep pushing your skills. So we're going to get back into our painting, look at your painting from that distance, and we're going to come in with what I call a round two. We're going to fill in a few more areas, maybe add a little more foliage, and then we're going to do some outlines on the rocks to define it. So here I just went back with a little bit of the green, filling in some of the foliage area that I obviously missed last time. And then we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go in with some orange and red and fill in some of the places where I can still see the canvas. And sometimes this is just little dots with my brush, filling in that space, applying the paint a little bit thicker. We're just doing this before we do our darker outlines. Again, you can use a medium flat brush or a pointy brush as you're completing this. Okay, so now we're going to move into the outline. This is going to be the pointy brush and black paint. And as you can see here, I did grab a little bit of water from my water container and I am mixing it with the black paint a little bit. I don't want this to be runny, but with a little bit of water mixture, I am making that paint a little bit more fluid and it's going to make it a little bit easier for me to do these lines. Now we are using that pointy brush. I want you to hold the brush almost perpendicular to the canvas, and you're using just the last 2 millimeters of the tip of the brush, almost like you're using a pencil. And exhale as you touch the brush to the canvas, and that's going to help steady out your hand. And we're basically going to be doing all the outlines that were on the traceable. So you can reference the traceable, or you can pause the video, reference where I place it when my hand is out of the way, or even just wait till the end of the video, pause it, and you can see where all the black lines are. Again, this is just getting you comfortable with your brush pressure. If you do not want to do this step with the outlines, you do not have to. This is your call. I have noticed with my beginner painters, my first time in beginner painters, when we do this outline, it kind of helps clean up some of the edges. And when you're in your beginning stages, having this kind of outline helps as you're developing your skills. So if you are at a point where you've been painting with me or with other people for a while and you don't like the outlines, don't do it. Maybe go back to your rock colors and kind of really define the shape and the edge where the rock overlaps the background. Play with that. And then again, those of you that this is your first time painting with me, these black outlines do help kind of clean up and give you a bit of a better presentation for your painting as you're learning to control the brush, control the shapes, and just get comfortable with the process. Again, you're doing a great job. A few tips. If you're noticing that your lines just start getting wider and wider and wider, take a look at the tip of your brush. Sometimes we get a lot of paint buildup on there, and with all that paint buildup, that pushes the bristles further and further away from each other, creating larger lines. So sometimes you need to fully clean your brush again, bring those bristles back together, pick up your paint, and then go back to applying. There's also, if you're noticing that your lines are getting wider, take a look at your pressure. The more pressure you use with the brush, the wider the lines are. So that's why I said earlier, hold the brush perpendicular to the canvas, treat it like a pencil, and use just the last 2 millimeters of the brush to kind of create those lines. This is not a race. Take your time. Um, Nothing in the art world is a race unless you're in a competition, and I don't really agree with those. So basically, the art world is for you to take your time and go at your pace. This is your process. Also, with that being said, I am shooting the video, so I try to keep the painting in the same orientation. But if you need to turn your painting sideways, upside down, if you need to put it on your lap, if maybe it's on the easel and it's easier to do it flat on the table, move your painting, adjust yourself, anything that you need to do to make your process easier. I try to keep it, like I said, pretty straightforward on the video, not do too much, so that way everybody can see what's going on. You adjust to what you need, especially in the creative world. Hopefully you can do that in other areas of your life as well. If you're inclined to put some of these lines that I do not put on there or that aren't on the traceable, go right ahead. You can actually Google Coffeepot Restaurant in Sedona, or not restaurant, there is a Coffeepot restaurant in Sedona, Coffeepot Rock Formation in Sedona, and you will see the rock formation that we're painting today, and you'll see it from multiple different angles. So if you want, look at those pictures and add the things that you like from the other images that you see. I'm a big proponent of taking the parts that work for you, take those with you and continue with them. And then the parts that don't work, leave it. So if there's parts of my painting process or teaching style that don't work for you, let them go. Maybe somebody else explains it differently. Maybe I explained something that somebody else explained to you and I explained it differently. It's not about just going with one teacher or just one method. The more variety that you can learn and the different teachers that you can learn from, the better your skills become and the more diversity that you have in your own skills. All right, so I think we're about ready to move into the foliage. Yep. So these are just going to be almost very, very kindergarten little arcs, almost little half circles to kind of encompass where the foliage of the tree would be. We'll do a little bit inside. Again, does not have to be perfect. We're not outlining every single branch or leaf on these trees. just kind of giving that impression of defining the space and uh, bringing it kind of all together with these. We will do one more color. Take your progress photo with white highlights. And again, these are just very impressionistic, very choppy, does not have to be perfect. And again, at the end of the video, pause it and then zoom in maybe to see where I place some of these. But this last section of white is kind of the final highlight, and it is pretty cool how much this changes. So get this progress photo in first, do the white, and then go back and flip back and forth between the progress photos and notice how much the black outlines made a difference, and then notice how much these white highlights make a difference. Again, you are training your brain and your eye to create this magical illusion of a 3D image on a flat 2D surface. I think that's probably the best part about being a painter is you are you are a magician. You're creating this wonderful illusion. So doing a great job. Again, if you want to put some of these highlights that I do not put them in, or if you want to use some yellow instead of white for your highlights, by all means, switch it out and make this your own. And don't forget your final progress photo when you're done. Please take a note of how you feel at the end of your painting. Hopefully you are a little more relaxed and ready to go about your day. You did a great job today. I'm really proud of you. So thank you for painting. Please send me photos of what you paint. I love seeing what my students do. It makes me really happy. And when you're done with this, check out the Paint Your Pet course and keep leveling up your skills. Until next time, cheers.